And this is pretty much what the product of Kairos, the message of Pascal, is. And the the best part of this whole trilogy is actually the next part. It's I don't want to say too much, but certain people go actually visit um, the outer planets of our solar system, which obviously none of the movies, none of the, have really shown in detail or in depth about what it's like to be landing on, or actually just being inside the surface of Jupiter, going inside the water or the oceans of Europa, so things like that. So it's gonna get more interesting with this trilogy. But as far as this novel goes, it's I hope it serves some sort of a meaning, even though it may not be. If even though this is fictional, I hope it like kind of encourages people and moves people to think, about what actually is out there. We are so consumed with football games and basketball games and all these stupid politics and radio show and the garbage on MTV that we have been, injected with to watch every single day. Literally, our minds are becoming dumb. The reason why people were able to create things like astrology, occult science, mysticism, magic, mathematics, calculus, is because they weren't surrounded by the bullshit that we are surrounded by these days. And this is the reason why they were able to use their brain a whole lot more than we do now. There are certain people who are using their brain, and I'll tell you what, they're not waking up every day turning on MTV or CNN or any kind of television. They rarely watch these things. They rarely consume themselves into these meaningless sports that are just, all they create is just brawl, and that's all there is. And I suddenly got my awakening after watching all these videos and reading all these books regarding, the unknown side of our life that we ignore, but it's there all the time, and it wants our soul to, discover it. It eagerly wants us to know what it is, and yet I don't know if it's the NWO or the world leaders don't want us to know, and this is their plan, yada yada yada. But my whole plan as a writer, as a citizen of this world, as a believer and a follower of John F. Kennedy, I feel that it was my duty to write these things and to motivate a reader to just start thinking. That's all. If we just start thinking, we can do a whole lot with our lives. That one of the most interesting things you will find in this novel, and pretty much if you research out there, is the fact that everything in this solar system, every structure that you see from ancient time, including some of the structures or some of the things that people talk about in terms of conspiracy theories, is that everything is 19.5 degrees from the equator, or 19.5 degrees from another object of a similar status or of a similar origin. And this was an interesting concept as to why is it that it's 19.5 degrees. Like if you look at the pyramids are 19.5 degrees from the equator. Sedona Mars pyramids are 19.5 degrees from its equator. The structures on moon that, even though we cannot confirm, but the people who think there are things out there, and the location that they're in, are exactly 19.5 degrees from the equator of the moon. And it's just mind-boggling as to why is it that exactly 19.5. If you look at on Saturn, there is a five-sided, I believe it's a hectagon storm on top of Saturn that occurred, and they just can't figure out why is it that a storm shaped into five different angles. Like, there's no way it can do that. It should be either circular or just dispatched all over the place. But when they studied this, One of the doctors actually talked about how this structure is actually a gateway into a hyperdimension. That in order for us to go into from one, wormhole to the other, there is going to be have to be a structure with five sides, and it will look like a storm. And that was just, you know, thinking about it, that there could be a gateway in our own solar system to go to the other side of the universe, which is right on top of our planet Saturn. And I just put this in my own perspective and in my own vision in my novel Kairos, the Message of Pascal. So I it's a fascinating thing. It's a very fascinating thing. And the most I won't say the most important, but the most popular conspiracy that started among all the inside groups and all the underground organization was the arrival of planet Nibiru, and who Sumerian were. How is it that the Egyptian knew that there is a 10th planet which is bigger than Jupiter, and its orbit is between Moon and Earth? I mean, I'm sorry, it's between Mars and Earth. And they think that the Kuiper Belt object was actually the planet which was destroyed by the arrival of Nibiru, and Mars is actually its moon, which is now left over, which we think it's actually a planet. So it was very interesting to see that there could be a vertical orbit instead of an elliptical for a planet in our own solar system. And so I included some of these things also in my first part of Kairos. And I have actually made the planet Nibiru and its controversy surrounding its existence a very important part of my trilogy, which obviously I'm still working on it. I'm still tweaking things. But again, once you'll just have to read that when it comes out. So I just wanted to talk about these things, and I hope you guys enjoyed the book. So far, I've gotten so many emails asking, and just saying good things about the book that I'm very happy. Thank you.